Well, it's time to put the frets in. Before I can actually install the frets, I need to level the fretboard. There's a slight back bow to it right now, which is not surprising because when it was strung up, the truss rod would have put some tension on the neck to counteract the strings. So I need to adjust the truss rod. But as you can see, there is no adjustment at the peg head. Go to the other logical place, the end of the fretboard, and there's no adjustment there. But you turn the guitar over and find two holes in it. This first one, I have no idea what it is. It seems to be threaded, but there's nothing at the bottom of the hole. The second hole is actually where the truss rod adjustment is. I'm trying to show it down there. You can see that little metallic pin that's kind of situated vertically in the slot or in the hole. That is the truss rod adjustment. And apparently, for one version of this guitar, I guess when it was built by the Baldwin people, they used this for some period of time. It's known as the Burns heel located truss rod adjustment. It doesn't seem as though it was used for too many years. I can't imagine why. What could be more practical? But as you saw, Jeff ground down a bolt, and here it is. And the idea here, because I have no notion of what the original tool would have looked like, but I can now reach in with this bolt and grab a hold of that tang and with some vice grips give a twist, loosen the truss rod so that the neck is pretty straight. Now I can sand the whole fretboard level and clean all the dust out of the fret slots, and then start putting in the new frets. After sanding the fretboard, I saw about 4 spots where the ebony had chipped as I removed the old frets. So I mixed up some ebony dust with a little bit of super glue and put it into those spots. I'll wait for that to harden, and then I can resand and level that off. And what I'm doing in the meantime is cleaning out the slots. There's a lot of dust and debris in them, so I'll use this little saw, get the slot cleaned out, because if the debris sits in there, it could interfere with how the new fret seats in the slot. I've got the fret slots cleaned out, so now what I'm doing is using this triangular file to just widen the very entrance to the fret slot. I do that so that the nubs on the fret tang don't chip the ebony as they go in. And also down the road, somebody may want to refret this guitar, and by having the slot a little bit wider at the very top, they won't have as much trouble with the ebony chipping as the frets are pulled out. Okay, here's a length of fret wire. So what I do first is clean it, because it's full of dirt and oil. But by cleaning it off, it'll have a better chance of staying in the fret slot not working its way loose. Now I'm going to use this little gizmo to bend a curve into the fret wire to more or less match the radius on the fretboard, and that just makes it a little bit easier to get the frets to seat smoothly all the way along their length. Fretting on a bound fretboard is a little more complicated and time consuming than an unbound fretboard. So after I cut the fret wire roughly to the length I want it to be, I have to remove the very end of the tang where it would otherwise cut into the outer binding line. I don't want to see the tang through the binding, so that has to get chopped off like that. And that way when it gets put in place, the tang will stop in these inner white and black lines, and the crown of the fret will continue right to the very edge of the fretboard. So I will do this for all of the frets. Here are all the frets. Now I'm ready to start hammering them in with this brass-headed hammer. Okay, all the frets are in, so now what I'm going to do is just put a little drop of super glue at the very edge of the fret. These bindings have been rounded off quite a bit, so I want to put a drop of glue in there, and then I'll knock down the very end of each fret. And the glue will help keep it down where it's supposed to be, even though there's quite a curve at the very edge of the fretboard. Now I'm making the edges of the frets flush with the edge of the fretboard by filing. So after the frets feel pretty smooth, they're not perfect, I'm going to put a bevel on them. I don't want them straight up and down. So I've got yet another of my highly sophisticated tools here. Chunk of maple with a 40-degree angle cut on it, and then a slot cut into it for a file. So I'm going to run this along the edges of the frets and file that 40-degree bevel. And now I will start leveling the tops of the frets. I'll probably have to come back and touch up these bevels a little bit after I do the leveling, but this gets me pretty close. I use this diamond sharpening stone to level the tops of the frets. The stone gets moved across the frets, and I keep doing that until I see that it has touched every low spot, so that every fret has a little bit of wear on its surface. That's how I know they're all level. Some of the areas of some of the frets are quite flat across the top, like over here and right there. So what I'll have to do now is recrown everything, and what that involves is filing from on an angle to reduce the flat area to just probably about 25% of the total width of the fret, and then after filing I'll sand to break the sharp edges and have some nicely recrowned frets when I'm all done. After the 400 grit, I'm going to use this Scotch-Brite pad and do the initial polishing of the frets. Take out the scratches from the 400 grit paper. Before I do the final polishing on the frets, I'm going to buff the fretboard with this rotary tool. And finally, I'll use this little wheel to polish just the frets. The little steel thing here protects the fretboard. So this will take all the last scratches out of the frets. Okay, that's it for now. I'm not going to oil the fretboard because I don't want any of the oil to spill over onto the bare wood. After the finish goes on, then I'll oil this up, give it a little drink after having sat around for 40 years.